Alan Wright stood at the large window of his quarters aboard the space station, Harmonious Unity. His reflection showed a tired man with dark circles under his eyes. He had been here for 14 months. 14 months of talking in circles. 14 months of fake smiles from alien diplomats who had no intention of treating humans as equals. The blue-green gas giant below the station filled most of the view. It reminded Alan of Neptune back home, though much larger. Home seemed very far away now. A soft chime announced someone at his door. "Come in," Alan said, not turning from the window. Lisa Garcia, his chief assistant, entered with a datapad. Her normally neat uniform looked wrinkled after the 18-hour negotiation session that had just ended. "The Mithrani delegation has requested another delay," she said, her voice flat with exhaustion. "They claim they need to consult with their homeworld about our latest proposal." Alan finally turned from the window. "That's the third delay this week." Lisa nodded, and the Zorax representative suggested privately that we might make more progress if we offered additional mining rights in the Kuiper Belt. Alan's jaw tightened. That was the real issue. The aliens didn't want humans as partners. They wanted human resources, human labor, human worlds. But they didn't want humans having an equal voice. "How much longer can we keep this up?" Lisa asked. Before Alan could answer, his secure communication panel beeped. It was a priority message from Earth Command. He pressed his palm against the reader, and the message appeared. "Operation Silent RET authorized. Commence at your disk or EJON." Alan read it twice. Then he looked up at Lisa. "It seems we're not keeping it up any longer." Outside the station, the UNS Determination held position with its escort ships. On the bridge, Captain Diane Miller read the same message on her secure terminal. She had been expecting this for weeks, maybe months. "Communications," she said, "signal the fleet. Prepare departure protocols." Her executive officer, John Reeves, looked up from his station. "The council session starts in 30 minutes. The ambassador hasn't returned yet." Diane smiled slightly. "He won't be coming back. Prepare the ship for his arrival." Back on the station, Alan straightened his uniform and walked into the great circular chamber of the Galactic Council. 27 species were represented, with seats arranged in rising tiers. Humans had an observer position on the lowest level. Councillor Zex Troll of the Mithrani was speaking about the need for careful consideration regarding human membership. The same speech Alan had heard dozens of times before. "The aggressive tendencies of humans are well documented," Zex Troll said, his translator making his chittering sounds into smooth words. "Their unpredictable behavior makes full integration problematic." Alan looked around the chamber. Some species nodded in agreement. Others seemed bored. None showed any real support for Earth. As Zex Troll continued, Alan stood up. This wasn't part of the protocol. Observers spoke only when recognized by the council leader. The chamber fell silent as all eyes turned to him. "For 14 months, Alan said clearly, humanity has negotiated in good faith. We have compromised on trade, on territory, on technology sharing. Yet we remain observers, not members." Murmurs spread through the chamber. The council leader, a tall, willowy being named Elora, raised a slender hand. "Ambassador Wright, you have not been recognized to speak." Alan smiled. "Then I will keep this brief. Humanity withdraws its application for membership in the Galactic Council. We are leaving. All human ships, all human representatives, all human interests will be returning to Sol System effective immediately." Stunned silence filled the chamber. Then chaos erupted. Alan turned and walked out, his staff falling into step behind him. The sound of alarmed voices followed them down the corridor. "Is this really happening?" Lisa whispered as they walked quickly toward the docking bay. "Yes," Alan said. "Earth has decided we're better off alone." As they reached the human sector of the station, warning lights began to flash. The station's AI announced, "Alert! Multiple ships powering engines. Unauthorized departures in progress." By the time the Council recovered from their shock, the UNS Determination and all human ships had already broken formation. Their engines glowed blue as they accelerated away from the station, leaving only confusion and the first tremors of panic behind them. News spread faster than light across the galaxy. Quantum communication networks buzzed with the same message. The humans had left the talks. At first, many didn't believe it. Humans were known to be stubborn in negotiations, but this was unprecedented. On the central trading hub of New Centauri, alien merchants watched their data screens as markets crashed. Human goods, technologies, and resources made up nearly 20% of galactic trade. Within hours, prices doubled, then tripled. "They can't be serious," said Vrax, a six-limbed trader, as he frantically tried to secure alternative suppliers for Earth metals. "They need our markets as much as we need their goods." His business partner, a crystalline being named Toll, made a sound like breaking glass, their species' version of laughter. "You don't understand humans. They would rather starve than be disrespected." Back on Earth, Defense Secretary Patricia Howard entered the Oval Office, where President Gregory Nelson was watching multiple news feeds. The screens showed human ships returning from all corners of explored space. "Operation Silent Retreat is proceeding as planned, Mr. President," Patricia said. 93% of our off-world personnel have confirmed they're en route to Sol. The rest will be home within 5 days. The President nodded, and the diplomatic followed. 17 species have already sent emergency requests to reopen talks. The Haldorians are offering twice the trade rights we asked for originally. The President's face remained stern. "Too late. We gave them 14 months to treat us as equals." Patricia handed him a data pad. "You should know that some of our people don't want to come back. Scientists, mainly. People who built lives out there." Gregory looked at the list of names. "They have 48 hours to decide. After that, they're on their own. We're closing the borders." On the frontier world of Nexus VII, Amanda Lee packed her laboratory equipment with tears in her eyes. 10 years of research on alien biology, all to be abandoned. Her alien research partner, Ziv, watched in dismay. "Please reconsider, Amanda," Ziv said, his translator struggling to convey his emotion. "Your government cannot mean to cut off all contact. Our work on cross-species medicine is too important." Amanda sealed another crate. "I don't have a choice, Ziv. All Earth citizens have been ordered home." "But why? What happened at the Council?" "The same thing that always happens. They wanted our help, our resources, our innovations, but they didn't want us to have a real voice." She paused, looking at her life's work. "Maybe someday things will be different." In space, the situation grew more chaotic by the hour. At the Galactic Central Station, thousands of aliens who had been visiting Earth found themselves stranded as human transport ships departed without them. Meanwhile, the human cruise ship Star Wanderer, with 800 passengers aboard, changed course abruptly. Captain Ben Russell addressed the confused tourists over the ship's communication system. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've received orders to return to Earth immediately. All planned stops at alien worlds have been canceled. We apologize for the inconvenience, but this is a direct order from Earth Command." In the ship's lounge, Mary Collins looked out at the stars with her husband, Steve. Their anniversary trip to the famous crystal caves of Proxima Centauri 3 was ruined. "What could have happened?" she asked. "Why would Earth suddenly cut off all contact?" Steve shook his head. "Something big. Look." He pointed to his personal data pad showing a news feed. Human mining operations on 57 worlds had shut down simultaneously. Human military advisors had withdrawn from joint defense initiatives. Human medical staff had walked out of xenobiological research centers across the galaxy. The galaxy was beginning to understand the extent of human involvement in their daily lives, and they were starting to panic. On the Galactic Council Station, emergency sessions ran continuously. Counselor Elora's normally composed face showed signs of stress as she addressed the gathered representatives. "We must form a delegation to negotiate with the humans immediately," she said. "Their sudden withdrawal is already causing severe disruptions." Counselor Zixitral chittered angrily. "This is clearly a negotiating tactic. They'll be back when they realize they need us." An elder Haldorian counselor spoke up, her voice grave. "I fear you underestimate their resolve, and how much we have come to depend on them." Outside the station windows, the last human ship disappeared into the darkness of space, its engines flaring blue before it jumped to faster-than-light travel. The humans were gone. 3 weeks after humanity's withdrawal, the galaxy began to experience the true consequences of their absence. The first attack came without warning. A fleet of Craxid raider ships descended on a Haldorian supply convoy near the Orion Arm. For years, these trade routes had been protected by human patrol ships. Now, with those ships gone, the raiders saw an opportunity. The Haldorian ships sent desperate distress calls, but no help arrived. 5 ships were destroyed, 3 captured, and only 2 escaped to tell what happened. Similar reports soon came from across the galaxy. Pirates and raiders the human forces had kept in check were suddenly active again. Trade routes became dangerous. Insurance costs for space travel tripled overnight. On the frontier planet Nexus VII, Jack Foster watched the locals prepare for the worst. Jack had moved here after leaving Earth's military 10 years ago. He had built a farm and married a local woman. When the recall order came, he chose to stay. "It won't last a month if the Craxid come here," he told his wife as they watched the town residents practice with outdated weapons. His wife, Nara, put her hand on his arm. "You warned them this would happen." Jack nodded. He had tried to tell the town council that without human military advisors, their defense systems wouldn't be enough. No one had listened until it was too late. Back on Earth, military leaders gathered in an underground command center. Screens showed the status of the Sol system's new defense network. Orbital platforms bristled with weapons. Sensor arrays extended beyond Pluto. General Scott Harris pointed to a blinking dot on the main screen. "That's the 3rd diplomatic ship to approach our border this week. The Mithrani are getting desperate." Admiral Ruth Taylor nodded. "Let them wait. We're not done with the isolation protocol yet." "What about the reports of attacks on our former allies?" asked a younger officer. Admiral Taylor's face hardened. "Not our problem anymore. They made their choice when they refused us equal standing." Beyond Neptune's orbit, a massive construction project was underway. Hundreds of ships and thousands of workers assembled a structure unlike anything Earth had built before. Engineer Frank Powell floated in his spacesuit, supervising a team attaching a huge panel to the main array. His communication device beeped. "Powell here." "Status report," came the voice of Project Director Susan Blair. "Section 17 is complete," Frank said. "We're ahead of schedule." "Good. The President wants the Helios array operational as soon as possible." Frank looked at the enormous structure taking shape around him. Most of the workers didn't know what they were building. They just followed orders. But Frank knew. This wasn't just a defensive system. It was something much more. On the Galactic Council station, emergency meetings continued day and night. The economy of multiple worlds was in free fall. Medical facilities faced critical shortages of drugs that only humans knew how to make. Defense systems failed without human technicians to maintain them. Counselor Elora faced an angry assembly. "Our 4th attempt to contact Earth was rejected," she announced. "They are not accepting any communications." "This is outrageous," shouted a representative of the Vexari confluence. "Do they not understand how many will suffer?" A murmur of agreement spread through the chamber, but one voice rose above the others, quieter yet somehow more powerful. It belonged to the eldest Haldorian, Matriarch Sela. "We brought this on ourselves," she said. "We treated humans as useful tools rather than equals. Now we learn how much we relied on them." Silence fell over the chamber as her words sank in. In a distant part of the galaxy, a Craxid raider ship approached a small research outpost. The outpost had been abandoned by its human staff, leaving only automated systems running. The raiders prepared to board and strip it of valuable technology. Suddenly, their sensors detected something moving toward them. Fast. Too fast. "What is that?" asked the Craxid captain. Before anyone could answer, a sleek black ship appeared. It bore no markings, but its design was unmistakably human. A transmission came through on all frequencies. "This outpost remains under Earth protection. Leave immediately." The raiders hesitated, then turned their ship around. They had heard stories of what happened to those who ignored human warnings. As they fled, one crew member asked, "I thought the humans left. Why are they still out here?" The captain had no answer. No one did. But across the galaxy, people began to wonder, did the humans ever truly leave? Or were they watching, waiting, planning something none of them could imagine? 6 months passed since humanity's withdrawal. What began as panic had evolved into a deep, persistent crisis across the galaxy. The true extent of human influence was becoming painfully clear to all. On the medical station orbiting Proxima Centauri 3, Dr. Vrel struggled to treat his patients. The crystalline beings native to this system suffered from a degenerative condition that only human-developed medications could effectively treat. "We have enough supplies for another week," his assistant said. Vrel made a sound like breaking glass, a sign of distress in his species. "We've tried to replicate their formula, but something is missing. Without the humans." He didn't finish. He didn't need to. Similar scenes played out in thousands of medical facilities across the galaxy. Diseases that had been controlled for decades suddenly became deadly again. The humans had shared their medicines, but kept key parts of the manufacturing process secret. At the edge of the Sol system, Lieutenant Olivia Martinez commanded a patrol ship near Neptune. Her radar showed 5 approaching vessels. "They're sending a message," her communications officer said. "It's the Vexari. They're requesting permission to enter the system on a diplomatic mission." Olivia shook her head. Standard response. No exceptions. The comm officer transmitted the message Earth had been sending for months. "Sol system is closed to all non-human traffic by order of Earth Command. Please turn back or face defensive measures." "They're not changing course," the tactical officer reported. "Fire warning shots," Olivia ordered. "Close enough that they feel the heat." Bright energy beams lanced out from her ship, passing just meters from the Lid Vexari vessel. The alien ships immediately slowed, then turned around. Olivia watched them retreat on her screen. This was the 3rd diplomatic mission she had turned away this week. They were getting more persistent. On Earth, in the presidential office, Gregory Nelson met with his cabinet. The screens on the wall showed the status of Operation Silent Retreat. All human citizens had returned to Sol except for 267 who chose to stay on alien worlds. All human outposts had been dismantled. All human resources had been withdrawn. "The isolation protocol is complete," Defense Secretary Patricia Howard announced. "We are entirely self-sufficient now." "And the Helios array?" asked the president. 70% complete. We expect it to be operational within 3 months." Energy Secretary William Jones added, "Once the array is active, we won't need to worry about resource shortages for at least 500 years." The president nodded. "And our defense capabilities?" "No fleet in the known galaxy could penetrate our outer defenses," Patricia said with confidence. "We've improved our technology significantly since the withdrawal." "Good," said the president, "because we've received a direct request from Counselor Tekuri himself. He wants to come to Earth to negotiate personally." The cabinet members exchanged glances. Tekuri was the head of the entire Galactic Council, a position he had held for over a century. For him to come personally was unprecedented. "What should we tell him?" asked Patricia. "The same thing we tell everyone else. No exceptions," the president said firmly. In the outer reaches of the Sol system, Engineer Frank Powell floated near the center of the Helios array. The massive structure had grown to encompass an area larger than Earth's moon. Thousands of panels stretched out in all directions, capturing energy from the sun and converting it in ways that human scientists had only recently discovered. His communication device beeped. "Powell here." "Frank, it's Susan. We've got a problem with the stability in Section 42. The gravitational harmonics are off." "I'll check it out," he said, propelling himself toward the troubled section. As he moved through the structure, Frank marveled at what they had created. The Helios array was more than just an energy collector. It was a statement. Humans didn't need the galaxy anymore. They could sustain themselves indefinitely. And if the rumors were true about what the array could really do once fully operational, the galaxy had good reason to be afraid. On the abandoned human colony of New Dakota, Jack Foster looked up at the night sky. He had been monitoring human communications secretly since staying behind. Something big was happening back in Sol system, but no one outside knew exactly what. The locals had come to depend on him for protection since the human withdrawal. His military training had helped them improve their defenses against the increasing raider attacks. "What are they building, Jack?" asked Nara, following his gaze to the stars. "I don't know," he admitted. "But knowing Earth, it's either going to save the galaxy or change it forever." Throughout the galaxy, similar questions were being asked on thousands of worlds. What were the humans planning? Why the complete withdrawal? When would they return, if ever? No one had answers. Only fear, growing stronger each day as the silent human worlds revealed nothing. 1 year had passed. The galaxy was unraveling. On the once prosperous trading world of Kepler Prime, food riots broke out for the 3rd day in a row. The planet had specialized in luxury goods for export, neglecting basic food production. With interstellar trade reduced to a trickle, its people were starving. Similar scenes played out across dozens of worlds that had become too dependent on humans. Economic systems collapsed. Governments fell. Ancient rivalries reignited as resources grew scarce. The technologically advanced Vexari confluence faced an unexpected crisis. Their biotemplate algorithms, the foundation of their medical and agricultural systems, began to fail. These algorithms had been secretly based on human genomic research. Without ongoing human input, the systems couldn't adapt to new conditions. On the Vexari homeworld, Chief Scientist Zol addressed the Confluence Council. "We must admit the truth. Our advancements of the past 50 years were largely built on human science that we borrowed." The council members shifted uncomfortably. Borrowed was a polite term for what they had done. Industrial espionage was more accurate. "Can we not replicate their work?" asked Council Leader Trin. "We've tried," Zol replied. "But human science follows patterns we don't fully understand. Their intuitive leaps defy our logic." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The mighty Vexari, who had argued most strongly against human membership in the Galactic Council, now faced collapse without human assistance. In the territory once controlled by humans, conflicts erupted as various species fought over abandoned resources. The mining colony on Cirrus AX, once a human operation, had been seized by 3 different species in the past month alone. Each time, the new occupiers discovered that the humans had taken or destroyed key components of the mining equipment before leaving. On Earth, Dr. Laura Chen stood before the Science Advisory Board. Her presentation showed complex equations and diagrams. "The dimensional resonance theory is complete," she announced. "We can now achieve what was previously thought impossible." The board members looked at her work with amazement. What Dr. Chen had discovered would revolutionize interstellar travel, making current methods seem primitive by comparison. "How soon can we implement this?" asked the board chair. "The first prototype is already under construction," Laura replied. "It will be integrated into the Helios array within 2 months." Later that day, President Gregory Nelson addressed a global audience from his office. Behind him, screens showed images of Earth's now thriving self-contained economy. "1 year ago, we made the difficult decision to withdraw from galactic affairs," he began. Today, I can report that our self-sufficiency initiatives have exceeded all expectations. For the first time in our history, Earth truly stands alone. And we are stronger for it." He paused, allowing his next words to carry their full weight. "We no longer need the galaxy. The question now is, does the galaxy need us?" Across the Sol system, cheers erupted as humans celebrated their independence. The pain of separation had faded. Pride in their achievement had taken its place. In orbit around Mars, the UNS Determination underwent its final upgrade. Captain Diane Miller watched as engineers installed new weapon systems unlike anything her ship had carried before. "Will they work as advertised?" she asked Chief Engineer Peter Alvarez. "Better," he replied with a smile. "Based on Dr. Chen's breakthrough, these aren't just weapons. They can reconfigure space itself." Diane raised an eyebrow. "That sounds dangerous." "It is," Peter admitted. "That's why only our most experienced captains are getting them." On the edge of human space, a lone ship approached. It carried the Galactic Council's newly appointed Special Envoy, a position created specifically to deal with the human crisis. The ship transmitted continuously. "This is Special Envoy Cora of the Galactic Council requesting permission to enter Sol system. We come with urgent information that affects all sentient life." For 3 days, there was no response. The envoy was about to give up when a transmission finally came through. "Special Envoy Cora, this is Earth Command. Proceed to the coordinates being sent to you. You will be met by a human vessel." For the first time in a year, the door had cracked open, but no one knew what would come through it. Peace or something far worse. Throughout the galaxy, billions of beings looked toward Sol with a mixture of hope and fear. The humans were finally ready to talk again. But after a year of silence, what would they say? The Galactic Council officially dissolved 3 days after Special Envoy Cora entered the Sol system. With no central authority, species across the galaxy scrambled to form their own alliances and secure direct negotiations with humanity. On the observation deck of Earth's orbital station New Horizon, Chief Negotiator Samantha Wade watched the approaching ships. 9 different species had formed a coalition, led by the Huldorians. Their fleet carried ambassadors, scientists, and leaders, all coming to Earth with the same desperate mission. "They're requesting docking clearance," said her assistant. Samantha nodded. "Let them in, but security protocols remain in place." When the alien delegation entered the meeting chamber, many gasped at the view. Earth hummed below them, beautiful and serene. But surrounding the planet was a network of defensive platforms unlike anything they had seen before. Matriarch Scylla of the Huldorians stepped forward. Age had bent her tall frame, but her eyes remained sharp. "On behalf of our coalition, I thank you for receiving us." Samantha nodded but offered no warm welcome. "State your purpose." "We come with an offer," Scylla said. "Immediate full membership for humanity in a new galactic alliance, special autonomy provisions, access to all our technological databases." "And in return?" Samantha asked, though she already knew the answer. "Your return to galactic affairs. Your protection. Your assistance." Scylla's voice carried a note of desperation that was impossible to miss. Samantha looked at the other representatives. Fear was evident in all their postures and expressions. "I will convey your offer to Earth Command. In the meantime, you may remain aboard this station." As she left the room, Samantha heard the aliens begin arguing among themselves. Some wanted to offer more. Others feared they had already offered too much. All of them were afraid. Deep in Earth's most secure facility, President Gregory Nelson received Samantha's report. Around the table sat his most trusted advisors. "They're offering everything we asked for a year ago," Samantha concluded. "And more." The president looked thoughtful. "And you believe their offer is genuine?" "Yes, they're desperate. The galaxy is falling apart without us." Defense Secretary Patricia Howard spoke up. "We don't need them anymore. The Helios array is operational. Dr. Chen's breakthrough has given us technology centuries ahead of anything they have." True, said the president, but that's not the only consideration. He turned to Admiral Ruth Taylor. What's the status of the Deep Space Monitoring Network? Commander Davidson reports unusual activity near the galactic core, she replied. Energy signatures unlike anything we've seen before. The room fell silent. They all knew what this might mean. Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, news spread quickly. Humanity had developed a new form of gravitational manipulation technology that rendered most alien defense systems obsolete. No one knew exactly what this technology could do, but rumors described ships that could bend space itself, weapons that could collapse stars, and shields that nothing could penetrate. The Vexari, once the most technologically advanced species, intercepted partial data about these human advancements. Their scientists spent days analyzing the information before reporting to the Confluence Council. If these reports are accurate, the lead scientist said, the humans could destroy any world in the galaxy with minimal effort. Why would they develop such weapons? Asked a council member. They've isolated themselves. They claim to want nothing from us. Perhaps, said another, they know something we don't. Back on New Horizon, the coalition representatives prepared to return to their worlds. After 3 days, Earth had given no response to their offer. As they boarded their ships, Matriarch Sella turned to her aide. They're going to refuse. I can feel it. Then what hope do we have? The aide asked. Perhaps none, Sella replied. Or perhaps they have a greater purpose we cannot yet see. As the alien ships departed, Commander Kyle Davidson sat in his control room deep beneath the lunar surface. His screen showed the data from Earth's new deep space monitoring network. The anomalous energy readings from the galactic core were growing stronger. He sent an urgent message to Earth Command. Activity increasing. Pattern matches ancient records. Recommend immediate action. Within minutes, the president called an emergency meeting. The time for decisions had come. Would humanity remain isolated in their newfound strength? Or would they rejoin a galaxy that now feared them as much as it needed them? And most importantly, would they reveal what they had discovered lurking at the heart of the galaxy? Special Envoy Cora stood in stunned silence as President Gregory Nelson showed her the evidence. The holographic display revealed massive objects moving from the galactic core toward inhabited systems. The harvesters, Cora whispered, her translator unable to hide her fear. How did you discover them? When we built our deep space monitoring network, we detected energy patterns that didn't match any known species, the president explained. Our scientists analyzed the data and found references in ancient records from multiple extinct civilizations. Cora's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. The Council has known about them for centuries. They awaken every 50,000 years and consume everything in their path. The president's face hardened. And you kept this information from us. Why? Cora looked away. The Council believed humanity was too unpredictable, too aggressive. They feared you would either cause panic across the galaxy or try to fight the harvesters directly, which has never succeeded. So instead, you kept us at arm's length while preparing your own defenses. Yes, Cora admitted. The Council has been developing countermeasures for generations. A controlled withdrawal plan for all major species to safe zones beyond the harvester's expected path. The president gestured to Defense Secretary Patricia Howard, who stepped forward with another holographic display. This one showed the Helios array. While you were planning to run and hide, we were building this, Patricia said. Cora studied the massive structure. An energy collection system. How will that help against the harvesters? It's much more than that, the president said. But before I explain further, I need to know if the Council was planning to include humanity in their evacuation plan. Cora hesitated too long before answering. That's what I thought, the president said coldly. On the other side of Earth, in a secure underground facility, Nancy Torres carefully examined ancient artifacts recovered from abandoned worlds. As a xenoarchaeologist, she had spent years studying extinct civilizations. Now she was putting the pieces together. Look at this pattern, she said to her team. It appears in artifacts from 12 different species that died out between 45 and 55,000 years ago. On her screen, a spiral symbol with unusual markings rotated slowly. I've run it through our translation program. It's a warning about the harvesters, but with specific details the council records don't mention. Her colleague, Dr. Paul Garcia, looked up from his own work. What kind of details? Weaknesses, Nancy said. The harvesters use a specific type of energy field that makes them nearly invulnerable. But there's a frequency that disrupts it. Does the council know this? Nancy shook her head. I don't think so. These artifacts were in human territory. We found them after the council denied us access to certain regions of space they claimed were culturally sensitive. Paul's eyes widened. They weren't protecting cultural sites. They were hiding evidence. Exactly. And there's more. Nancy brought up another display showing complex equations. The resonance frequency that disrupts harvester fields is almost identical to the foundation principle of Dr. Chen's dimensional resonance theory. That can't be coincidence, Paul whispered. It's not, said a voice behind them. They turned to see General Edward Mitchell entering the lab. Humanity's isolated development led us to discover what the Council missed for centuries. While they focused on running away, we accidentally created the perfect counter to harvester technology. At the edge of explored space, a human scout ship detected the first wave of harvester vessels. They were massive, each one larger than Earth's moon, with surfaces that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Captain Olivia Martinez sent an encrypted message to Earth Command. Harvester scouts confirmed. Estimated arrival at nearest inhabited system in 3 weeks. The response came quickly. Monitor but do not engage. Return to Sol in 48 hours. As her ship turned back toward Earth, Olivia wondered what would happen next. Humanity had the technology to fight the harvesters, but after a year of isolation, would they choose to help a galaxy that had rejected them? Back on Earth, an emergency broadcast reached every human settlement in the Sol system. All citizens, referendum scheduled for tomorrow. Question: should humanity re-engage with galactic affairs to confront the harvester threat? Your voice matters. Your choice will determine the future of not just humanity, but all sentient life. The galaxy held its breath, waiting for humanity's decision. The referendum results came in overnight. 87% of humanity voted to help the galaxy against the harvesters. Despite everything that had happened, humans would not stand by and watch billions of innocent beings die. Ambassador Alan Wright prepared to address the hastily reassembled Galactic Council. 1 year after walking out, he would return, but now on humanity's terms. Are you ready for this? Lisa Garcia asked as they approached the council chamber aboard the diplomatic vessel. Alan nodded. More than ready. It's time they understood who we really are. When they entered the chamber, a hush fell over the assembled representatives. Many species that had once looked down on humans now watched with a mixture of fear and hope. Alan walked to the central podium and looked around at the alien faces. 1 year ago, I stood in this chamber and announced humanity's withdrawal from galactic affairs. Today, I return with humanity's response to the harvester threat. We will help, but on our terms. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Alan continued. The Helios Array is not just an energy collection system. It's a defensive network capable of protecting multiple star systems simultaneously. We developed it based on ancient warnings that the Council chose to hide from us. He activated a holographic display showing the array's capabilities. Gasps echoed through the chamber as the aliens realized what humans had created. While you planned to abandon whole regions of space to the harvesters, we built a shield for everyone. Alan said, that is the difference between us. You seek to save yourselves. We seek to save all. In the Sol system, the Helios Array began to change. Sections detached and moved into formation. Engineer Frank Powell watched from a control station as the true purpose of his work was finally revealed. All modules responding, he reported. Dimensional resonance fields stable and expanding. Across the system, similar arrays, smaller but equally powerful, activated. Together, they created a network that could extend protective barriers across vast distances of space. At the edge of the Harvester advance, Captain Diane Miller's UNS Determination led the first joint human-alien defense fleet. Hundreds of ships from dozens of species formed up behind her vessel. "This is Captain Miller to all ships," she transmitted. "Hold position until the resonance field activates. Once your shields are synchronized, advance according to the battle plan." On her bridge, alien officers worked alongside humans. The former enemies had become allies against a common threat. The Harvesters approached, massive, dark ships that seemed to swallow light itself. "Resonance field activating in 3, 2, 1, announced her tactical officer. A wave of energy spread from the human ships, washing over the entire fleet. Ship shields shimmered and changed, now glowing with a blue-white light. "All ships report successful synchronization," said the communications officer. Diane nodded. "Weapons officer, prepare to fire on my mark." As the first shots were fired, Lieutenant Ryan Cooper sent a message to the combined fleet. "Perhaps you should have trusted us sooner." The battle joined, human technology giving the Allied fleet a fighting chance against the ancient enemy. Back on the Galactic Council station, Ambassador Wright stood with alien leaders on the observation deck. They watched distant flashes of light as the first engagement with the Harvesters took place. "Will it be enough?" asked Counselor Alora, her voice tense with worry. "The battle is just beginning," Alan replied. "But for the first time in 50,000 years, the Harvesters face an enemy with the means to stop them." Below them, human ships formed a protective barrier around the gathered alien fleet. Their shields glowed brightest of all, taking the brunt of the Harvester attacks to protect their allies. "I don't understand," said a Vexari representative. "After how we treated you, why would humans put themselves at the front? Why take the greatest risk?" Alan smiled slightly. "Because that's who we are. You feared our capacity for violence, but never understood our capacity for sacrifice. Humans don't just fight well. We protect what matters." As they watched, more human ships arrived from Sol, bringing sections of the Helios array to establish defensive positions around key worlds. "The terms of our new relationship are simple," Alan said. "Full technological sharing, open scientific collaboration, guaranteed species autonomy, and most importantly, we stand together, not just today, but always." The aliens nodded in agreement, finally understanding what they had almost lost in their fear of human unpredictability. It wasn't humanity's aggression they should have respected. It was their fundamental drive to protect all life, even at great cost to themselves. The galaxy had panicked when humans quit the talks. Now they watched in awe as those same humans stood between them and extinction.